Roger, copy.
Hey everyone, we're live. Welcome to another MoonDAO Town Hall. Today we've got an awesome guest, Chris Sembroski. So just a quick note on the agenda. Chris will be giving a presentation, and then we'll open it up for Q&A at around the half-hour mark. And then at the full hour mark, we'll move into two proposals that have come in through governance, and we'll review those on the call and then vote. So yeah, I guess without further ado, Chris, you can jump here up on stage. Chris is an astronaut, and we're really lucky to have him. And I'll take it away, Chris.
Okay, great. Well, thanks again, Pablo, for having me on. I much appreciate being here. So I just wanted to start off by saying I am so excited to be here to talk about Inspiration 4. Today is Splashdown Day as of 4 years ago. So at this point in time, exactly 4 years ago, we were preparing to come home. I think we were opening the cupola bubble one last time just to take that last peek at Earth before we have to pack things up and close things out and prepare for our reentry a little bit later today, 4 years ago. So it's wild that that time has passed so quickly to me, but so much has happened since then. But at your request, I would love to share some pictures and videos, and it kind of takes us through the background of, some of my history and what it was like to go through Inspiration 4. So if I start by sharing this quote from Carl Sagan, it says, "The Earth's the only world known so far to harbor life. There is nowhere else, at least in the near future, to which our species could migrate." I think this captures the essence of why we feel like it's so important to use space and to go to space, to look back at our home and realize how important it is to everyone. That's the best place to be from. Anywhere else we go out that's accessible to us, even when we do go to the moon and to Mars, those are places that are not full of life, that they are more than just fixer-uppers. We might see Earth as a place to fix up and has lots of problems, but it has the perfect balance of things that need to work together to help harbor life and to sustain life. And I mean, just looking back at Earth in all its beauty, it's absolutely stunning to me. And I am encouraging PowerPoint to say, let's go to the next slide. It's thinking about it, I'm sure. There it goes. So when we look back at Earth, it's gorgeous. There is no better place to be from. Oh, hang on a second. When we were taking pictures from our spacecraft in space, anytime I give a picture to anyone, this is the orientation that they end up hanging it on the wall. Earth is always down, but for us, Earth was always up. That's just the way we were filming things. We got used to having the cupola bubble be our up direction. So for us, the Earth was always hanging above us anytime that we were exploring the cupola or looking back at home. And it's just a gorgeous place. But we all come from different places around the world, right? And I think that's what I really want to emphasize, is that Earth being our best place to be from, we all come from different backgrounds, and we should all have something in our past that kind of guides us to where we want to be in the future. And we all have our own families that we come from. And I was deeply inspired by having a family that was deeply rooted in the musical arts. Every single person in my family from some musical instrument, so to the point where you could put an incredible 15-piece band together and have all the parts covered. But at the same time, space captured my imagination. We look back when I was in elementary school, the space shuttle was taking off, and that was the way that people got to space, and it was exciting. It was the way that we knew we could build the space station. It was the way that multiple astronauts were going to space. It was billed as the way we were going to see dozens and hundreds of people get a chance to get to orbit. didn't quite work out that way, but it was such a place of inspiration, and I feel very fortunate to be encouraged by my parents and my dad to build rockets as a kid, and I eventually got into high-powered rockets and had a lot of fun with those. In college, I had a chance to uh, take some of the members of the Embry-Riddle Embry-Riddle ice hockey team up to Washington D.C. during spring break, because when you're already in Daytona Beach, might as well leave Daytona Beach when it's spring break time and go somewhere it's cold and miserable. So we went to Washington D.C. in March before the cherry blossoms were blooming to lobby Congress, but at the same time took an opportunity to check out the wind tunnels farther at MIT, and just from a place of pure curiosity. And they saw the passion that we had for aerospace and said, "Yeah, sure, we'll give you a quick tour." And I was very generous of those professors there up in Boston. But it was like a side venture, because what we were there in Washington D.C. to do was to lobby for the opening of space for all people as much as possible. And so we gathered people from all over the United States, from all different industries and walks of life, to come together as private citizens to talk to our elected leaders about how important space is and how we need to continue to enable others to open up space. And that's what we did through this organization called ProSpace, and just volunteers. And um, it ended up working tremendously well. We got traction and hosted one of the very first space transportation roundtables in 1999, and uh, gathering members of the industry together, and eventually leading to the passage of some key acts that have opened up commercial space and encouraged the commercial crew program, which allowed SpaceX to be successful, and really encouraged NASA to get out of the low Earth orbit game. And I thought that was incredible. Uh, and then, as a college student, being able to walk the halls of Capitol Hill on those hard marble floors and have that access to share what's important to me individually was empowering and important. Uh, but never thought the impact that I would have would actually grow into something that I would eventually be able to take advantage of later. Um, but somehow it all worked out. Back in college, I was finishing up my time at Space Camp with our 1900s technology, mission control, and the simulators, getting my dad the opportunity to fly on the multi-axis trainer, telling the story of America's space history. And well, when it came time for me to leave Space Camp in the Space Coast and get out of college, I ended up going to the Air Force to work on big missiles, because I wanted to stay closely connected to rockets. I mean, how could I not? It captured my attention, seeing the very first shuttle launch for me that was at night, to see those solid rocket boosters ignite and light up the entire night sky from 10 miles away, and to hear the rumble and see the alligators come out of the water to sing love songs to that deep rumbly roar of the solid rocket boosters it was enthralling. And I knew I wanted to be part of that. And being part of the Air Force was a way that I knew I could continue that journey. And while this was happening, eventually I left the Air Force and met my wife in Montana, and we decided we were going to make a break for it to go out to Seattle and start our lives out there together outside the military. And while all this is happening and I'm continuing my civilian career, doing automation and electromechanical controls, Virgin Galactic sent their people to space for the first time. Blue Origin landed New Shepard vertically under rocket propulsion for the first time. Falcon 1 successfully made it to orbit on its fourth attempt and was able to secure those NASA contracts that I alluded to earlier. And then time goes by. Bob and Doug eventually fly to space in May of 2020 for the very first time since SpaceX was invited to try to get astronauts to space, to the space station. We saw the last space shuttle flight happen in 2011, and so we had 10 years where no crewed flights were happening from the U.S. soil. But shortly thereafter, in February of 2021, a Super Bowl commercial aired for the Inspiration 4 mission. Well, I'm sitting on my couch and absolutely, as a space nerd, thought this is something I want to do. I want to be a part of this. So I pulled out my phone, made a small donation, completely forgot about it until a month later when I'm sitting downstairs with my daughter, getting her ready to go to get donuts one morning, on the weekend. And uh, my wife calls from upstairs saying, "Hey, Chris, you left your phone on the nightstand. It's buzzing like crazy. Someone from Inspiration 4 is calling you. It's waking me up. Come get your phone." Sorry, sweetheart. Grabbed my phone, started this conversation with this guy named Kid, and come to find out that he was doing a verification of a deep pool of candidates to see who was going to earn this fourth seat for this Inspiration 4 flight to space. He convinced me to send him some very personal identifying information over email, and had mentioned that he was a former Thunderbird pilot and F-16 weapons school instructor, which caught my attention. Not something you expect to hear on a donut run on a Saturday morning in Everett, Washington. But I then got on a Zoom call with him the next day. Remember, we're in the height of COVID, and we're not able to communicate with our friends or meet them in person. So all of our conversations are over Zoom now. And I get on this Zoom call, sitting in my kids' playroom with these, decorations around me that are designed for young kids and butterflies hanging from the ceiling. And I meet Jared Isaacman in this Zoom call for the first time. And then I see my friend Kyle, who I went to Washington, D.C. with years prior to lobby Congress. We had launched rockets together. He was a roommate of mine in college, and then also the best man at my wedding. And next thing I know, I see him, and I'm thinking this deep pool includes Kyle as well. Turns out, no, Kyle's the one who won this sweepstakes, can't take the flight, has given Jared my name, and I'm going to be going to space in 6 months. That was a lot to take in really fast, but absolutely an incredible thing. And the next thing I know, I am meeting with the Inspiration 4 crew, which includes Jared Isaacman, Dr. Cyan Proctor as our pilot, Haley Arsenault, our medical officer from St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, and then me on the end here, the guy who was the adopted sweepstakes winner. Well, we went through a series of training events to get ready for this flight in a very short amount of time. We went through centrifuge training outside Philadelphia and experienced up to 6 Gs of force, and gave myself that initial confidence that I personally could absolutely make this happen. We climbed Mount Rainier, which is a volcano outside of Seattle, Washington, a 14,000 foot peak. We stayed up at the 10,000 foot level for 2 nights in these little blue and red tents. We were kind enough to get, Jared was kind enough to give us about 5 weeks of notice for a climb that most people train for about 6 months to do. So it was a big challenge for us. Very proud of my crew. No one quit, although we were hurting and struggling and took a long time to get up there. But getting uncomfortable was part of the objective. And being okay, feeling all of these uncomfortable sensations was going to be very important for us to remember when it came to spaceflight. And we were so rewarded, though, when we got to the top. We saw incredible views the next day and an incredible number of stars at night. And then additionally, apart from knowing that our crew is going to stick together, can we communicate? Can we function when we're being put under some extremely unique situations? And so Jared took us out to Bozeman, Montana, and put us through a series of fighter jet flights, and did barrel rolls and formation flying, and continue to hone our skills of teamwork and communication as we were being put through these wild scenarios. And speaking of support, through all of this, yeah, there might have been the 4 of us up front, but I mean, there's an army of people behind us, including my family and my daughters, that are part of this experience going with us. And it's those human connections that sometimes get left out of the equation, but they are so important. And we need to remember those as we go and try to achieve these new heights. This was supposed to be the first all-civilian mission to orbit. And so we didn't have any NASA astronauts on board with us. and we needed to make this flight successful. And the team behind us and our families were a huge part of that. And then, as you can imagine, for someone who worked at Space Camp and has taught the history of American human spaceflight, it's something else entirely. And you get a flood of emotions and a huge amount of imposter syndrome when somebody stitches your name on the sleeve of a SpaceX spacesuit. It was quite a moment for me when I put it on for the first time, and I was so proud and so excited, but also feeling that weight of history and how fortunate to be standing on these shoulders of giants that have come before, realizing in that moment that the work that I had done as an undergrad college student, volunteering my time, along with hundreds and thousands of other people, was coming back in full circle to allow me to have this opportunity to go to space as part of this all civilian crew. We took one last look at our spacecraft from the ground, doing that famous lean back that you see other SpaceX astronauts take. And then on September 15th, 2021, just after 8 p.m., we took off from Launch Pad 39A. It's the same launch pad that Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin left to go to the moon. And it's where the majority of space shuttle flights left from as well. For a flight that's meant to inspire and to encourage people to donate to St. Jude to help eradicate childhood cancer, it left behind such incredible imagery that truly was inspiring to people on the ground. And for the four of us that were inside this spacecraft, we may not have seen these images while we were flying, and we may not have heard the chants and the cheers and the clapping and the excitement of what was happening on the ground. But when I came back and rewatched these videos later, I most definitely was moved by how invested others were in our flight and to make sure that we were safely getting to orbit. And it reminded me how I felt anytime I see a crewed flight take off on a rocket, that I truly wish them well and I'm willing them to orbit safely. Well, when we first got to space, the engines cut off. You see this black stillness, and it was silent. It was a moving time until we heard the cabin air fan start to turn on, and then we started to come around the Earth to see our first sunrise, and the action started to come through the windows where we could actually see the Earth. I don't know if you can see these videos or not, or how choppy they are. But it was a very and it was such an important part of our mission. Being able to look through that window and capture pictures of the Earth that we've only heard stories about. We were flying at a higher altitude than the space station, so we were able to see more of the curvature and get a better, a continent-wide view of the land masses. And we could see all the different variations of cloud formations all over the world. So many spirals. And you get to see how the oceans and create some of these storm clouds and these wild cold fronts, and the shadows that you see as you go around the Earth every 90 minutes. So you get a sunrise, and then 45 minutes you get a sunset, and the lengthening of these shadows from the clouds is inspiring. And it's just you sit there in moments of awe and just feel very insignificant when you look back and see the earth the way it is. Th this particular window essentially gave us the chance to feel what it was by turning around, and doing a 360-degree view around around by spinning around in the cupola dome. And I don't know, I wanted to capture that. I wanted to bring that home. I wanted to share that with everyone on the ground as much as I could. And so the first picture from space that SpaceX showed my family was me taking a picture. So they sent a picture of me taking a picture through the selfie cam, and that's pretty much what I focused on the entire time. Now, we did lots of other things as well, but, capturing images like this of Australia to see the reddish-brown interior of the continent with the beautiful Pacific Ocean and the tropical waters just off the coast. And then on the night side of the earth, where you can see in North America, Lake Michigan, and you see the cities of Chicago and Cleveland, and then you start to recognize that there are white flashes at the tops of some clouds, and as you recognize that there's this cold front stretching across the continent that's just lighting the entire earth, the entire night sky up in this amazing firework display. It was something I could watch forever. An absolutely dynamic and gorgeous planet. Between the lightning flashes, the interactions of the clouds with the land, the snow-capped mountains of the Andes, um, the light reflecting off the ocean waters, being able to see that thin blue line of the atmosphere on edge to realize that's all that's separating us from the vacuum of space. It's quite the dynamic environment, and it's alive, and it's something worth protecting and realizing that this is where everyone you know and love lives. Now, we had fun while we were in space too, because we're bringing more of ourselves to space. We're bringing our humanity with us. And as we look around, we see that we kind of emphasize the point that yes, the world is round and beautiful. It's something that I'm, so proud of to call home. I mean, how can you not when you see images of your home that look like this, and you can zoom in and see those anvil clouds reaching out to the tops of the edges of the atmosphere, and it just continues all over. Sometimes when I give this presentation, I while we travel around it, at 17,500 miles per hour. And we did so together as a crew, right? We made sure that we did as many things as we could to make sure we weren't the last people that were going to be able to experience this as a civilian crew. And doing it together with the people that were supporting us along the way and encouraging them to support St. Jude and recognize that, it kind of goes back to this little Rumi quote that I found. And you don't realize it, but we may be doing these incredible things with rocketry and spacecraft and astronauts, but it's those connections between all of us that we're the actual light of the world that brings the joy and brings meaning to what we're doing, and all that joy is that humanity I talked about. You got to play with your food in space a little bit. You got to show that it's not just the physics and the mechanics of flying to space. Yeah, it's those people that you can connect with during and after and bringing my family with me on some specially made dog tags that include as a reminder that she's there with me. It's taking the opportunity to do media calls with the patients from St. Jude and to show and tell some things with the greater public about what we're doing in space and why we are there, to show that, yeah, we're doing things that we've only dreamt of as kids, but now we're able to make them become a reality, because when we go to space, we're doing things that we can use to improve life here on Earth. Now, that would not have been possible in a cockpit like this, right? The flight deck for the space shuttle, very complicated, lots of rocker switches. And there's no way that in 6 months we were going to be able to master a system like this. But thankfully, through the advancements of technology, that's what's allowing us these opportunities. The switches we had were just for emergency situations, but we could use those flight computers and the screens to see where we were at any time. And through the autonomous capabilities of Dragon, we're able to control where our orientation and know exactly where we are going to be splashing down when it came time to come home. And in this case, we're looking at where we are on our flight path, and you can start to see that the only human impacts on the planet that you can see from space are those lights at night when you're on the dark side of the Earth, and then those wildfires as we're flying over the central part of Brazil here that just dump smoke into the atmosphere. And you take a moment to pause to remember that, wait a second, I just saw that thin blue line as we were going around the edge of a nighttime pass, and realizing those anvil clouds are only going so high that the smoke only has so far to go. And that's all the protective layer we have. But then again, it's that it's all those problems that we think are so important that do fall away into insignificance, because they Jared and Cyan, who are our commander and pilot, might have had those 3 flight displays and those 3 screens in front of them to give them situational awareness. Haley and myself didn't have that same visibility, so we have our iPads on our knees to keep track of the timeline and where we are in the mission, and or to watch movies like this while we're waiting for transitions to happen. But we're just being ourselves, bringing the best of what we thought we could with us to space. 3 days later, we come through the atmosphere and see the plasma go by the windows, flashing brilliant pinks and yellows and oranges as we bring a sonic boom back over Central Florida that they hadn't experienced since the shuttle days, and splash down in the Atlantic Ocean. Successful, happy, and healthy, finding out that we had achieved our goal of raising $200 million for the hospital through various donations from so many individual contributors, and then a couple of large contributions that we found out about 2 hours after we got back to Kennedy Space Center. And I think it's just absolutely amazing. And I think another quote that I wanted to include here is that by going out into space, we can address some of these challenges on Earth while we expand our presence in the universe. I hope that we can all bring our individual best to that frontier, because it offers such an unimaginable and limitless opportunity for us to innovate and discover new things. And what I love about our mission is that it wasn't the end, and it's not the end. We continue to see missions continue to grow. We see the advent of large launch vehicles happening. We see Starship taking off. They've flown 10 times so far, and they're pushing the needle farther every time. We see New Glenn from Blue Origin providing another heavy launch vehicle that's going to be partially reusable as well. It's giving us a new opportunity to take more chances on what we're going to be able to see in space. And I am really excited for it. I'm incredibly thankful to everyone that helped support us along the way, and to have this mission as something that's now a part of who I am, and to share it with you, and to share these images of what we're doing in space and where we're going to be going next. So Pablo, thank you again for allowing me the opportunity to share those pictures with you. I'd love to continue the conversation and see what kind of questions we can answer, and carry on with our webcast today.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. Thank you so much for sharing this presentation. So this is the second time I've seen the presentation. The first time was actually with Yasmin, who we'll hear from a little bit after this. And
Yeah.
I think it's really awesome to see, and I can really kind of really see it, that you're taking an active role in trying to communicate the experience. You feel this like weight of responsibility to like bring this back to people, and to make an impact, with the experience that you're given. Um, yeah, I guess, how has, I mean, I get the sense already of the answer to this question, but I know that, you know, this kind of, and I appreciate your candidness of just like, you received this call, and then in 6 months you had to essentially take a massive, shift in your life and like accept this new identity, and that must have been jarring. Um, and now you've kind of integrated it over the last 4 years, and not only that, but you did it like during COVID, which was already a massive shift.
Right.
How, yeah, I guess on the 4-year anniversary, how are you feeling now, having integrated, all of this over the past 4 years, and how?
Right. I continue to reflect and think about it. And I do apologize for the videos and causing the choppiness of the presentation to interject, but hopefully some of the images came through. Uh, but yeah, being not only were we all highly stressed during the time of COVID, imagine to have your spouse tell you that he's going to ride a rocket and you have two small kids at home, and you've been raising these kids together as a couple, and well, what if starts to run through your mind. And that's what ran through my wife's mind a lot. And so she would many times throughout the training would be the one left behind, to take care of the house and the home, while I'm off trying to make sure that the crew stays safe and that I stay safe and I'm prepared and ready for this flight. And that was true on orbit as well. I blasted off the rock of we call home, and they're all waiting to see if 3 days later we come back home safely, which we did, of course. But integrating that in to the daily life of 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 raising kids and running a house, it's wild. You're never the same anymore after you go to space. Um, Once you have that kind of perspective, you want to share it with others, and uh, it changes a little bit of how you see your interactions with people. And you, I know Yasmin's going to be sharing her proposal a little bit later, but having the opportunity to meet with people from various walks of life, even people that take the same similar risks that perhaps astronauts do in going to an unknown place to see what they can do in that location where everything is unfamiliar. There's an interesting connection there. You have to be brave, and you have to be wanting to be able and willing to go after something bigger and better because it's worth it. Just like we were climbing Mount Rainier, that we knew my legs were so sore, that I took so much ibuprofen, it felt like, and doing all those power breaths, pressure breaths to force oxygen into my thigh muscles that just did not want to work anymore up at the 8,000-foot level. But then looking over beside me and seeing the frosty ice cover the hats of my crewmates, and knowing that Haley's making this climb with a prosthetic bone in her leg, that's motivation to say, okay, we're going to keep going. I can do this. If I can make this climb, then I know I can go to space. And I know that if my crew with me can make it through this feeling the same pain and struggles of what I'm feeling, that we're not going to give up on each other when we get in situations that might be challenging.
Yeah. We've got a great question from Loretta. She asks,
So,
who did you get to meet or talk to during training?
I think there's an incredible connection that, yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
sorry.
sorry. Yeah.
I think
I know I cut out for a second, but I know that we all have our own individual struggles that we deal with on a constant basis, but we know that the goal and the reward at the end is worth it.
Yeah. Um, 100%. And I think it's awesome that doing Mount Rainier as a team to kind of build that trust. It seems like that's exactly what you want the right kind of stress to put everyone through in order to like develop those like challenging situations where like, okay, we're all in pain together, and let's see what
Yeah.
we're all made out of as a team. We've got a question here from Loretta, who asks, who did you get to meet or talk to during training, either training, the mission, post flight, that really had you the most in awe?
Oh my gosh. We did get to speak to a lot of people. Some people I never thought I would have the chance to. I'm going to kind of reverse the end of that question a little bit, because I think it not recognizing fully who else following with us along this journey. We had a chance on orbit to talk to Tom Cruise, a very unexpected call, but he's a huge advocate for space, and he gave us a call, and we're passing the microphone back and forth to each other to answer his questions, and he asked a similar question about what was the most impactful thing we've seen so far. And I relate to him the story of when we first got to orbit and we made our first orbit around the Earth to where the sun started to rise for the first time on the spacecraft. And we were still orienting our spacecraft in the right direction. And so normally this wouldn't happen, but it did during this first pass, where sunlight directly entered the side window on my side of the spacecraft and shot a beam of light over on Haley's side. And it was the most pure, white, bright light that flooded through the window. And when it bounced off the far side white walls, it just illuminated the entire capsule in this beautiful, pure white glow. And when I imparted that story over the radio, his response was like, "Oh, my skin's tingling." So without having been there, I think he was able to get that sense of awe from what we were experiencing in space. That was pretty impactful.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think you do a great job of, especially with the images and the videos. And sorry that there was some choppiness with the stream, but I think your eye for like capturing these like photos and videos, and then also just the way you describe them, it really does come through. Or the sort of the freshness of like I don't know, just the way you describe some of these things are it's really, I mean, I can tell that it like brings a lot of emotion through to you as you describe it.
Yeah, it's hugely impactful. I mean, I didn't have the opportunity to understand this concept called the overview effect before flight. I think it was mentioned to me at one point, but I didn't fully understand, who Frank White, the author, was until post-flight. And then realizing the experience we had and some of the really cool moments of looking back at Earth had already been discussed, and there is a language, there's a lexicon to talk about it, to share, that's common between astronauts that see the Earth that way. And just that was kind of impactful to realize, oh, my experience is a shared experience. I need to continue to find ways to allow more people to have this shared experience, because it's impactful. You really do feel like there's something amazing about our home when you see it in that particular way.
Yeah. I'm also just out of curiosity, personal curiosity. So Jared Isaacman was almost head of NASA, and you got to know him very intimately, and I'm sure you're rooting for him to get that position. I'm curious, what insights you've had through your personal relationship with Jared. And I don't know, maybe just your general thoughts on that whole situation, because I think you have probably a very unique perspective, having spent all that time with Jared.
Right. Well, I mean, Jared wants to climb the next highest mountain. He wants to see the next, boundary pushed. And that's a part of the reason why he signed the agreement with SpaceX. And, he did the Polaris Dawn program because that was probably the most meaningful way to continue to go to space, was to do additional development and do a spacewalk with a new suit that's going to continue to push the objectives of getting to Mars forward. And through it all, he's a great leader and a great commander of a spacecraft. He cares about his people, and he wants each of us to succeed and to be the best version of ourselves as part of the crew as we possibly can be. And that's never been in question any step of the way. And he's got a unique perspective on things. Not having gone through NASA astronaut training, where you are a representative of the government and NASA at all times, coming at it from the civilian sector, you can impart a different perspective on how we can go to space and get more people up there and get there in a way that we can achieve objectives that we haven't been able to dream of before. And no, he's just going through that process of, going through the confirmation process. It's stressful. There's no doubt about it. But I know that he captured some of that same excitement that I felt as a college student, walking the halls, going into congressional offices, to talk to the decision makers of, how we're going to run this country, and what we can do to make it better, how we can push space objectives forward, whether it's, a specific agenda by, this pro-space lobbying group, or a company, or whatever it is, or just a private citizen saying, money aside, what's the right thing to do to push humanity forward, to push our presence in space forward in a way where we can do the maximum good in space for Earth. And I think Jared was going to be absolutely the right person to do that at that time. And I think going through that process, he had a chance to see how the process works. And I mean, being in politics is challenging. Everyone has their own agenda. Not everyone thinks that space is the most important thing. Shocker to this audience, I know. But it's there are so many problems here on the ground that we've been dealing with for thousands of years that we continue to squabble about. That having that opportunity to go to a new frontier and create new lessons and find new ways of solving problems is hugely important. And it might solve some of those issues that we've been struggling for millennia to answer. And he brought that fresh perspective. And I think it's a really unfortunate, that it got canceled on him kind of very abruptly. But I know that he still fully believes in the mission of what NASA can do and what we need to do to take more people to space. So he's not done yet. I have no question about that in my mind. And I applaud him for that. It's the same, feeling I felt as a student, continuously going back year after year, every March, that knowing that my little impact as a college student amongst the sea of, professionals was having some sort of small ripple effect that would hopefully widen out this opportunity in space one day. And I can see him seeing the opportunities to do that still.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's I'm saddened by him not being able to lead NASA. As I think he would have brought a lot of great energy to the administration. But I think we've got some really great questions coming in from Discord, and I just want to do another call. Like if anyone has questions, leave them on YouTube, Discord, Twitter. We get all of them here. One from Phil. He asks, was it difficult to return to normal life after your flight? Has it changed your day-to-day at home or at work? Oh, and by the way, one thing. Oh, never mind. I think you got it.
Yeah.
We freed up the bandwidth. There we go.
All right. So the question from Phil. All right. Returning to normal life after flight. Yeah, it is a challenge, but you're thrust right into it. I think what you have to realize is that before you go to space, you're coming back home, and the people that matter most to you are your family. Those are the people that you're coming home to, and if you're going to go to do something amazing out in space, you might as well spend some time with your loved ones beforehand, because that's who you're going to be coming back to, and um, those are the lives you're going to impact most, for good or for worse, for better or for worse. And I mean, I remember coming back home, and within a week, I was mowing the lawn again, and doing all the things to get ready to go back to school and get the kids back into elementary school and preschool. Uh, at the same time, you're walking around with a kind of little twinkle in your eye, or a little smirk. I felt like I was just constantly thinking about, when I was looking up at the clouds or the sky, that, man, I know what that looks like from the other side. That was quite the experience. You, you walk. There was gosh. It's meant for hikers and mountaineering people that climb mountains. But there was a quote that I'm going to butcher, that is etched on a plaque, at base camp outside of Mount Rainier National Park, and the message behind it is that, those that have gone above know what it's like to look down from that point. When they come back down, they never forget it. Those that look up without having that climb just may never know. And it's that experience of having seen and knowing and remembering that just kind of changes your walk in your everyday. It really emphasizes, personally for me, you don't forget that point of things falling away to insignificance, those struggles and those problems that we battle over constantly, or we see wars fought over, those fade into nothingness when you start to realize the true connections that matter, those ones between you and me and others. Um, that's really what's most important.
I think that's a great segue into this this other question that came in from Elliot. Elliot asks, would you say that experiencing the overview effect has influenced your views on religion, faith, or your perspective on humanity's place in the universe?
So for me, the overview effect, I guess a couple of things. I mean, when you are a spacecraft floating around in space, you recognize that the Earth itself is its own spacecraft, and then the moon rises, and you see it as another floating body out in space, and it emphasizes the fragility and how delicate things are in balance at this point. That we are so happen to be on this planet at a moment where life is just thriving. It's this little bubble within the universe in this galaxy that says, okay, we can be human. We can do amazing things with life at this point in time, which is crazy to think about. I mean, in the entire billions of years of history of the Earth, it's just 10,000 years of humanity have existed on this planet. And it's wild to think about it, but it also emphasizes how fragile it is. But when I look back at the Earth, the other part was that I felt more connected to places around the Earth than I had ever felt before. I saw that physical separation. I felt separated, but oh man, I really wanted to go and visit the Andes Mountains. I need to go to Machu Picchu. I need to go visit the people from Australia. I need to go see the folks in the South Pacific Ocean, in Oceania. I need to go and see what it's like to experience more of these I need my wife to go experience some of these thunderstorms that are going across the U.S., to see a tornado. I mean, I grew up on the Southeast. I know what lightning and tornadoes are like, but she needs to experience that. This Earth is dynamic. It's alive. It might seem like just a bunch of physics and chemistry to some people with a maybe more of a cynical perspective, but the systems that we are a part of work together, and it's such a beautiful planet that works together. I need to go and explore it and share that with people directly. And a lot of times, if my passport isn't working, or that there's no time for me to actually go somewhere. It's connecting with the people from those places that brings those moments together locally, where I can then experience something through their eyes in our shared humanity of it all. It's super impactful that way.
Yeah, well, well, I couldn't come up with a better line of questions, because the next question is actually from Frank White himself, the author of The Overview Effect, and he asks, "What is inspiring you now?"
Oh my goodness, Frank, thanks. What is inspiring me now? I mean, as a dad, I not to go cheesy with it, but I mean, it's inspiring to see your own kids grow and thrive, and to see their artistic expression and their skills grow. I mean, my youngest is an avid soccer player, and the speed and the ferocity at which she takes to the pitch is amazing. She might be completely having a meltdown or just not into it, but as soon as she kicks that soccer ball once during practice, you see her get in the zone and see her eyes light up, and her whole body language changes. And the same thing for my older daughter, who is a swimmer and an avid musician. When she gets behind the drum set and just rocks out to a Nirvana song at her recital, or at another performance that's with the jazz band at school, you're incredibly honored and proud as a parent to see her just grow and become the person she's going to be.
Yeah. Well, you did kind of touch on this during your presentation, but you talked about kind of the stuff that kind of gets left out of the picture, when they see you or anyone else going up to space, but the whole like support system and all of the humans behind it, and all of the dynamics of the story. I mean, you mentioned your wife a lot and your family, and the impact that your flight has had on them. And yeah, I think it's great that I don't know, that you're able to tell that story and get that across. And yeah, it feels like your story, at least for me, feels much more personal or approachable than someone who's gone through many years of NASA training. That like, they're awesome, but I just, it seems like they're at some higher echelon of something.
Yeah, my brother collected baseball cards. I collected 8x10 glossies of astronauts. So yeah, same feeling, right? They're dedicated. They're incredibly accomplished individuals, and they're still my heroes, a lot of them. And I agree with you entirely about that. Yeah, and I think that's what's great about having this new era of space happening, and it's kind of I see it as part of the mission of MoonDAO as well. As like we see the opportunity to have more than those highly those selected individuals. We have the opportunity to share space with more than just that top 1% of the 1% of humanity to go to space. We can bring our imperfections with us, so that we can perhaps perfect ourselves along the way. But I think it's so cool that we can do that. And I think it's even opening up opportunities. Like, I know we were talking about going all over the world, and what inspired us from where we're from. And it's reminding me that that inspiring that next generation is also so important in what we're doing. That if if it wasn't for like my dad inspiring me to build rockets, or having that teacher in high school that inspired me to come up and think about the stars late at night on top of my high school, and take a look through these large telescopes to see the colors and the clusters that are just out of the abilities of our eyes to see, until you get a little bit of high powered. It's that same inspiration that we need to impart on future generations, and that same access to space resources and education. It's that mission of this nonprofit that Sarah Sabry started, called Deep Space Initiative, that's looking to provide research opportunities and collaboration opportunities in education for people all over the world, no matter where they're from. Like, why limit people on their access to knowledge and expanding their curiosity just because their passport says they're from a specific country? I'm so proud to be part of that organization, and we're celebrating them here at IAC in Sydney in about a week and a half. Our event called Deep Space Connect, which I encourage anyone that's going to be in Sydney to come join us on September 30th and get your tickets to help support it, because we're enabling researchers from countries all over the world to collaborate together to solve really challenging questions. And the outcomes have been pretty impactful. Some have been, so the outcomes in the short time frame that these researchers get together and tackle these questions, the outputs are sometimes of high enough quality to get published within that short time. We're building out educational resources and courses for people to take that maybe you were space curious as a kid, but went into marketing or business or biology in some other degree, and you wanted to know more about it. Well, we're building out some resources that anyone can access to get into those industries. So yeah, it's a continue that mission. I've always thought that STEM education was hugely important anyway, and I still love going back to space camp and talking with the kids there too. So they get excited. They see some of the pictures that I showed earlier, and ask great questions and engaging with them. And those are the little ripples in the water that may take a long time to come back as tidal waves, but when they do, it's overwhelming and impactful.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think yeah, it's incredible to see just the butterfly effect that can occur if you just have a conversation with someone at the right time, especially younger people. And yeah, I totally agree. What you're saying resonates a lot with like my mission or in MoonDAO's mission, that it shouldn't matter where you're from. The types of people that will impact our future in space, they can come from anywhere, and they should come from anywhere to give us these different perspectives. And yeah, and I'm so grateful for you sharing your time with us here, and sharing your perspective on your flight. And yeah, and we'll actually have some people at IAC for MoonDAO, so yeah, definitely stop by Chris's event with DSI and come out to Sydney. Yeah, and we're almost at the top of the hour, so I want to respect your time. But I guess in the closing last 2 minutes, anything, how should people stay connected with you or reach out to you, or anything else that you want to leave us with before we close up?
Sure. I mean, you can always, if you need to get in contact with me, you can always go to chrissembroski.com, and my LinkedIn profile is linked there. But yeah, if you want to get involved with DSI, with Deep Space Initiative, deepspaceinitiative.org, and you can look up our events there. You can look for our future courses that will be coming up there over the next several months. And we'll be posting events and our own podcast talking about the work that we're doing, and get more insight to what Sarah Sabry's mission and what she's been working on as well. It's pretty cool. So look for us there. You can find, of course, on all the social media fronts as well. But anytime you guys have a question or you're curious about something, yeah, reach out. And I look forward to seeing everyone that's going to be at IAC in Sydney. Hope we can cross paths at some point.
Definitely. Yeah, and I'm also excited. I know we've kind of talked about it a little bit, but ways that MoonDAO and DSI can collaborate. And yeah, I think there's a lot of synergies there. Yeah. So it's exciting.
Oh, and one more shout out as well. I forgot. Like, we just started this last course yesterday, but if you're going to go to space, you might as well get fully trained, right? I didn't do space kind training until after I went to space, but it would have hugely impacted me and better prepared me for space travel. So if you go to spacekind.org, the next cohort starts in January. Take a look at it. It's taking the best of us and up into space with us, and I think that's what's really cool. It gets you on a better path towards fulfilling your own personal mission, and we all need a little bit of readjustment as we grow. We don't just get to think about what we want to be when we grow up when we're kids. You get to think about what you want to be when you grow up as an adult too, multiple times. So it's a good chance to recalibrate that too.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm doing SpaceKind right now, so
That's right.
it's
Awesome.
great. And SpaceKind is in the marketplace, so you can also sign up for SpaceKind through the MoonDAO app, which is fun.
Sweet. Pablo, thank you again. This has been a really fun conversation, and I hope to see you guys around soon.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you so much, Chris. All right, I'll hand it off to Ryan, who will take us over to Discord, and then we'll start with the review of 2 proposals that are coming through. So thank you so much, Chris, and I'll hand it off to you, Ryan.
Great. Thank you.
Cool. Thanks, Chris. Thanks, Pablo. Yeah. Yeah, Colin, if you could start the screen share for Discord. Cool. But yeah, super inspiring conversation there. Yeah. Yeah, Colin, if you could start the screen my echo now. Cool. Very distracting. But yeah, super inspiring. Sorry. But yeah, super inspiring conversation. I, for one, was following closely with the Inspired 4 mission. It was a real highlight, I guess, during the lowlights of COVID to see commercial spaceflight, really the birth of commercial spaceflight and all civilian spaceflight. So yeah, amazing that now, 4 years later, I'm working in the space sector and we're having conversations with Chris Sembroski, and it's just really kind of a trip to think that. But yeah, don't go anywhere. We're going to switch gears into our 2 proposals that we have pending and project roundtable updates, and you can stay here in YouTube or X, but we'll switch over into Discord for that portion of the event. So one moment. You can stay here in YouTube or X, but we'll switch over into Discord for that portion of the event. So cool. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out. Yeah, as I said, we'll switch over into the proposal portion. We have 2 proposals up this week. So let me see if we'll take them in the order of submissions. Let me see if I can invite Alex up onto stage. Hey, Alex, how's it going? I can't hear you. Else, just on my end. Let me see. Mute site. Hello. Hey, Alex. Hey, Lane. In the chat, show me a thumbs up or thumbs down if you guys can hear Alex or Lane. Is it just me? Okay. Pablo can't hear them either. Yeah, Alex, Lane, I can't hear either.
Can you hear
of
me?
you. I can hear you now, Lane. Okay. How's it going?
Good.
Good. I think we need Alex here to present the proposal, though.
Yep.
Yeah, so Alex, I'm not sure what's going on your end, if your mic's acting up, or you might need to refresh or reconnect. Oh, Alex can't hear anyone his end. Interesting. Okay, well, let me see if we can shift gears to. Hold on. Okay, Alex. There's now. No. No dice. All right, Alex, I might have to move you to the audience here. Lane for now. See if Yasmin is good to go.
Hello, you guys hear me?
Hey, I can hear and see you. Hey, Yasmin, how's it going?
Hi, everyone. Excellent. Good to see you all. That was awesome.
Yeah, super awesome conversation. But yeah, I think Yasmin, this is your first time giving a proposal or a project proposal for the community. So generally speaking, it's just 5 to 10 minutes to share the project. You can share your screen and walk us through the proposal. What you're looking to do, how much funding you're seeking from the community, and then after that, we can take any questions from senators or members of the community about the proposal.
Perfect. Awesome. Let me see how I can share my screen. Let's see, allow. Perfect. Well, I guess, first of all, just briefly, maybe I'll introduce myself. My name is Yasmin Abagari. I'm a community builder. I'm from Morocco originally, live in San Francisco, and I spent the last decade engaging communities around the world, traveled to all 50 US states, over 48 countries, and really the focus has been about cross-cultural understanding and bringing people together from very unlikely different worlds. And so over the last year, the new edition has been bringing refugees and astronauts together in the same room by also, oh, can you hear me? Cool. So the idea is bringing refugees and astronauts and local community together to build bridges, but also really understand the challenges that these communities are facing across the world. So for context, let me just share my screen now. Let's see. Are you able to see it? Cool. So quick background, there are 117 million displaced people around the world, about 3.7 million here in the US, who've lost their homes, either due to war, climate change, and political unrest. And there's a lot of isolation and people not feeling connected when they land in new homes. And so the idea was, what better way to actually welcome them in their new environment than to be welcomed by an astronaut? Because what we've identified is that there's a lot of commonalities between an astronaut and a refugee. Both of them have tremendous resilience and going into the unknown. And of course, one is both of them are taking a lot of risks without potentially coming back home. And so there's this beautiful kind of synergy that we've found, and we've collaborated actually with Chris Sembroski to host the first one last year. We had about 50 people in the room. Half of them were refugees from all over the world, and the other half were members of the space community and also local people. And the setting is a Moroccan tea ceremony, so we're sitting on the floor and we're sharing stories about who we are and where we come from and our origin stories. And by the end of the evening, they become friends, and that's really the goal, is building a sense of community and belonging. The next one we did was with Chris Hadfield in Tampa, which was incredible. We had an American family with 6 kids, and we had a Palestinian family also with 6 kids. So it's a very intimate setting, and we came together to have conversations and dialogue around courage, resilience, and how do we adapt in new environments. So the intention of this proposal is to have the upcoming one be in San Francisco. And also the intention is having Frank White be a special guest as well to join us. So he would be flying in from Cambridge. And currently I'm talking to Jose Hernandez, and he lives in California, so that would be easier for him. Oh, hello? Something happened.
Yeah, your video cut out, but I can still hear you fine.
Okay, great. Awesome. And so we're talking to Jose Hernandez and also Ron as well to invite them. And part of why we chose that November date is Pablo also lives in San Francisco. So we thought it would be amazing to have MoonDAO represented and encourage people to come and join in as MoonDAO citizens. But also the date could be flexible. Currently, we're looking at November 7th, but it can also be completed in. Oh, can you hear me still?
Yep,
Cool.
you're good.
Awesome. Yeah, so that's kind of like high level. We have a venue that's pretty much secured and is excited to host us. That can host up to 40 people. So the ideal intention is having refugees, MoonDAO citizens, or guests, but also having people of the local community in San Francisco, and then create that weaving of different communities coming together. We usually have an astronaut share about their journey, bit kind of what Chris just did, and then we also have a refugee talk about their story and how they've come to America and what happened, what has unfolded in their journey. And then we open up the room for everyone to share one by one their story. So everyone in the room gets an opportunity to talk about who they are, their origin story, and finding commonalities amongst the group. So that's high level what the proposal is, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Cool, thank you. Yeah, I might have some questions coming in here in the chat, but I suppose if you could just address, briefly the budget request, and also there were a few questions that, Phil and I had in the proposal thread. If you could maybe address a few of those things that recall. I know you updated the proposal, but
yeah, I did. So there will be, so basically in terms of other groups contributing. So yeah, Voyage, which is my organization, will be contributing as well. We also have some people who offer to donate some points for the flights. So that's part of why I put $400 for the flight. But again, we probably will fly Frank White. Jose Hernandez might just drive if he's available. And then Ron also lives in San Francisco or in Mill Valley. So in terms of the objectives, so we're thinking we can do a 3-minute recap video of the actual event, and then 5 social media posts before, during, and after, as a way to capture all the incredible impact that's going to happen. And actually, Pablo had a chance to join the last one, so he has a kind of a sense of how these events go. Usually it's about 3 to 5 hour experience, and that includes food and includes a tea ceremony and the talks, and then the one facilitated conversation throughout the evening. Let's see what other questions were there. Oh, in terms of attendance, so we actually partner with a local nonprofit called World Relief, and they work with the welcoming refugees in America. So they help us identify refugees in different cities, and they're called World Relief. So that's how we identify the refugees. And then it's open and closed, like we don't publicly advertise it, but we advertise it within the communities we partner with. So for example, MoonDAO, anyone from MoonDAO could join. And then we just try to be intentional about having diversity in the room so that it's mixed. And that's where the richness, happens when you have people from different countries, different socioeconomic classes, different, political perspectives, and viewpoints of how they view the world. So that's addressing that question. And then let's see, what else is there? Let me just pull it up. I see a question from Sarah, I believe, just in terms of benefits for MoonDAO. So what we basically, let me just pull up. So, I mean, the main thing that I see in terms of the MoonDAO mission is how do we make space accessible for everyone, including refugees? We talk a lot about having one rocket launch be refugees from all over the world, be then kind of the next frontier, like similar to Jose Hernandez's story, being the first migrant worker to go to space and to become an astronaut. So, how do you inspire new arrivals and refugee communities and immigrants to also dream to be part of this space conversation? So that is kind of part of the goal and intention of these dinners. And then another, benefit is how do we kind of bridge the stories of refugees and how they adapt to these new environments after facing war and extreme challenge, in their life, and then be able to learn from that in terms of creating inclusive culture within MoonDAO and the world. And so those are some of the benefits for MoonDAO. And then for the community at large, is just fostering belonging for displaced individuals and connecting space exploration with real world human experiences. So as Chris was saying earlier, we go to space for Earth. It's about people, it's about humanity, it's about these relationships and connecting different communities cross borders together, and especially people who are usually not included, such as refugees. And then inspiring collaboration between very diverse communities and creating more bridges, more connection points. So those are some benefits that I wanted to highlight.
Is it still 5K, or did anything change there with the updates?
Yeah,
I haven't
that's
seen it
still
since.
yeah, that's still 5,000 for the budget, and that basically covers like the food, the venue, operational cost, photography, filming, and then any transportation, flight, etc. So we try to get things donated as well, so to keep the cost low, but that's usually how much an event will cost.
Okay. I see a question here from Phil in the audience, just asking about if you will reschedule the event if it can't take place during the time or during the planned venue or date. Like, what would be the what's your flexibility there, I guess, in timing?
So I definitely want to make sure that Pablo is in town during the event, and so either the first week of November, otherwise it could move to the first week of December, which is the next window. And Frank White is available November 7th, so you can fly in for the event. I am still confirming with Jose Hernandez, so it's possible that could shift. So yeah, I mean, it's flexible. It doesn't have to be November 7th, but yeah, the venue is flexible as well for us to pick a different date.
I guess the goal is to have it done in Q4, though.
Exactly. Absolutely. Yes. I mean, we're ready to go. It's just we're waiting for just the astronaut confirmation again. We have Ron also that I'm talking to, and Nicole Stott is excited to do it as well. So it's just having that unique perspective is really meaningful for these dinners. But yeah, Frank White alone is going to be amazing. Talking about the overview effect and his incredible work that he's done and all the interviews he's accomplished. So I think that will be incredible. And of course, anyone here is invited. We usually can, the venue usually can host up to 40 people or even 50 if we squeeze, but we are all sitting on a rug, together in one big circle. So we can fit a lot of people.
Yeah, I guess this is kind of related to Inja Bob's question, like how will you decide how many or which MoonDAO citizens can participate in this event?
That's a good question. I mean, there's 100 MoonDAO citizens currently, I believe, 150. Yeah, I mean, I think it would be, I'm open to ideas. Yeah, I don't quite know how to select on the MoonDAO side, but yeah, it could be a raffle, or it could be whoever sends a video talking about why they want to join. I think that could be a good way to engage the community as well. Like, why is this important? So open to ideas.
Yeah. We have a few people in the San Francisco area, obviously, besides
Yes.
Pablo. So yeah, I suppose if someone was really interested in flying out, this proposal obviously doesn't include like a travel stipend for those people. So if someone wanted to fly out on their own dime, I'm sure something could be worked out to get them to the event, probably.
Yeah, and I have a couple guest rooms and friends who can host as well, so we could accommodate people if they can cover their flight. We can find them a place to stay.
Nice. Okay. Well, any other questions here from senders or members of the audience? Going once, going twice. Cool. Anything else you would like to add, Yasmin?
Yeah, I mean, I'm really delighted to be here. This is my kind of first official MoonDAO town hall introduction. So I know a lot of the citizens, but yeah, it's really exciting to be here. And I also just want to say I'd love to think of ways to engage the MoonDAO community and maybe starting with the citizens and then the larger community. But my gift and dharma and mission in this world is to bring people together. So I'm excited to be here and think and contribute in that way.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you so much for. It's great to have a proposal here. We've been chatting back and forth over a while, or we've conversation with Pablo and all that for some time. So cool.
Yes, I guess we just to mention we tried to create a cross-cultural experience for in China, but fortunately that hasn't happened yet.
Next time, hopefully. But
Really.
cool. So I just shared the MDP 192 link for the Voyage Astronaut Refugee Project. Tag the senators. Senators, if you could please, go in and give it a thumbs up, thumbs down for the temperature check, so we can hit our quorum here within by the end of the day here. But yeah, thank you so much, Yasmin.
And actually, just one more thing. I see Phil's question. I'm just looking at the questions. In terms of the timeline, I just want to say we've been doing these dinners almost every month. So we have a process. We can roll an event within a month. So it's feasible, and a lot of incredible collaborators, to make it happen.
It's badass, says Phil. Cool.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. All right, we'll see if Alex is able to hop up now. Oh, hey, Pablo, sorry.
I've been just DMing with Alex, and he's having some issues. So, I mean, we can try it again. He says his Discord app is just essentially kind of bugging out, and then we'll shut off after like a few seconds of. So he's gonna try it. Let's see.
Hey guys, is this coming through?
Yeah.
Here you go.
All right, so I'm basically outside on a roof on data because I'm guessing that these issues were coming from my Wi-Fi. Unfortunately, that means that I'm not going to have the presentation open in front of me. I don't know if perhaps one of you could open it for the crowd. So far as the actual paper goes.
If you can just kind of walk me
Appreciate
through where you want to go, I will start opening up here. But yeah, you can take it away. Tell us a little bit more, about yourself and how this project came to be as I pull it up here.
Appreciate it, brother. Hey, everybody. So I know a decent number of the people here. Some of you, this may be the first time. I have come on and spoken for MoonDAO before. We did a sort of an introductory session into what my organization is. So I'm currently the director of the Advanced Space Life Research Institute based in Cape Canaveral. We are the world's only full spectrum scientific institution that studies sexuality, health factors, and reproduction for space. Okay, I'm just want to make sure I didn't drop off here. I saw the screen change. So we were founded in 2023 and not only focus on conducting research within our own organization, but also partnering with other institutions and helping support projects that sort of fill in all the knowledge gaps that have to do with human sexuality and reproduction, so that we're eventually going to be able to go settle new worlds like Mars. So that is the sort of, in a nutshell, reason for ASRI existing. One of the first partner institutions that has approached us was University of Kansas Medical Center, and specifically a team there that had been working on a NASA project for the past 10 plus years, known as Rodent Research 20, which some of you may have heard of. It flew on the ISS in late 2023, actually right around the time that ASRI officially became an institution. They brought 40 female mice, and we do have the principal investigator, Dr. Lane Christensen, here with us, so I'll let him speak to it as well. But 40 female mice that flew in space for, if I'm recalling correctly, about 42 days, specifically to study how spaceflight impacts mammalian female reproductive systems. So they brought those mice back, mated them with ground controls, and we have seen a couple generations since that have shown some pretty profound effects as a result of that exposure by their ancestors to spaceflight. So I'll let Lane speak a little bit more to that. But the reason that we're here and this proposal is being put forward today is to fund essentially a funding shortfall that has happened because NASA coming to the team about a year ago and letting them know that unfortunately they weren't going to be able to extend their research grant. So we now have these exceptionally valuable mice, this very, very unique colony of mice, probably the most valuable in the history of the world, if we're being honest, that the American taxpayer put tens of millions of dollars and the team put years and, over a decade of their time. NASA flew to the space station, we brought back down, and right as we're starting to really gain all these really incredible findings, we are faced with the prospect of losing the colony. Because if we do not figure out a way to fund these mice in the long term, unfortunately, the university cannot afford to keep them, and they would eventually have to be euthanized. So we are looking to extend the lifetime of the mice by several years with a crowd raise campaign that we're going to be launching in cooperation with MoonDAO and partnership with MoonDAO here in about just under 2 months. It's going to be start of early November is when you can expect that campaign to launch. And that'll be a joint effort between ASRI, MoonDAO. KUMC is not an official partner, but it will be for the benefit of this team at KUMC and keeping this colony of mice alive so that we can actually gain a lot of this insanely valuable biomedical data that will help us, the entire species, in the long term. So that is what this proposal is for, is to cover funding for that process for the next few months here while we finalize the campaign, get ready to launch it, and then close everything out for it. Check. Oh man, I hope that was not completely.
Yeah, you're good. We heard it all. So yeah,
sweet. Okay.
I was just flipping through the proposal here on the other screen. So yeah, we have requesting $15K, about $5,000 a month for keeping the mice alive, basically for those 3 months. I don't know if Lane, you want to
I
chime
can
in?
give you a little bit of background. So these mice that we actually are working with right now are actually the grandchildren of the mice that went into space. And what makes these truly unique is that these grandchildren, we have both grandchildren from mice, same starting material from ground controls as well as the spaceflight mice. So we can make direct comparisons. What makes them really unique is that exploration into space. They actually, of their grandmothers, actually created a phenotype in those animals, and that has been passed down to their children and now to their grandchildren. And we, based on that, we're able to now make some predictions about what the long-term effects of space flight may happen in a human population that would normally take 50 to 60 years to achieve. We can get some information like this in a rodent species much quicker. Those events, and we are in the process of publishing this in a very high level journal. We've submitted and are waiting to hear back on that. But I think that right now, because of the funding situation, the national levels, they're basically letting us know basically the project that we've worked on is now being curtailed to the point where we have basically have to shut down the experiment. It doesn't mean that we don't have very valuable information to process from the prior work, but I mean, it's a shame to let this valuable resource to be discontinued when it's really relatively cheap on scale to keep the mice here now, as opposed to how much it costs to send them into space and initially to repeat this type of experiment. That type of an experiment is anywhere in the $20 to $30 million range to get to the point we are now. Whereas we're looking for small dollars comparison, but important dollars. I would be happy to answer any questions about the mice, the specifics on what we've found.
Yeah, we did have a question, if you could touch on it briefly in a way, about what some of the profound effects were that you're seeing in your research that are implicated in spaceflight.
So one of the things that we're seeing is that when these mice come back, they actually, the female mice that came back, their offspring, they prematurely age. The actual offspring age age quicker, and then their grandchildren are actually aging quicker also by measures that we use, and some of these are like telomere shortening, things very specific to the DNA. Energy levels that the cells produce are reduced, much as when people get older, their energy levels drop also. So we've got, and this is in not just the reproductive system, but in the general tissues of the body. And we have also, and we believe this is all occurring through the reproductive system, through the germline. But we're working to prove that, and that's not actually those parts of the experiment or the trials were not actually part of our original project, but came to light and due to the fact that we were able to mate these and generate these other generations. So some of the work is that's being proposed here is completely outside of what was ever in the NASA project, and it became important to us when we found out that there was a subsequent effects in these second generation.
Interesting, yeah. I guess another question that we had in the original proposal thread, perhaps Alex Lehman was asking, what would be the long-term benefit to MoonDAO in terms of supporting this project? If you could talk to that a little bit.
Is this okay? I'm letting Alex talk.
Alex,
yep. Yeah. Absolutely. So far as long-term benefits go, the campaign that we have sort of been building on our end with ASRI, our intent, the long target is to raise 3 years worth of funding to fund these mice and really get to sort of the end of the yellow brick road on it. So the target amount is going to be 1.5 million equivalent in total to support that team and all the research, all the facilities and everything for the next 3 years. We do think that there's a strong chance, given the nature of the subject matter, because we are talking things related to sex and reproduction in space, but also the fact that people genuinely care about animals, and there's a lot of compelling reasons to have the public rally behind saving these mice. I think that there's a strong chance that we could make this campaign go viral, which, with MoonDAO being attached to it, that obviously has the benefit of pretty broad, broadening significantly global recognition. for both institutions involved and for the project itself, where people become a lot more aware of just how valuable this science is, and then the wider sort of space science community. So it's this almost, many ripples within the pond bouncing off each other effect that can happen within the space community for MoonDAO, but for space science itself, and also sort of taking MoonDAO, and ASRI for that matter, to the next level in terms of name and brand recognition around the world. So there's the prospect of you guys seeing a significant uptick in community count for members and things of that nature, just on a sort of on a metrics level. But the level of goodwill that could probably be generated all around for this type of feel good project, how compelling the narrative around it is, and how much it will long term benefit humanity because of how valuable that data and that science is. I think that's a pretty strong strong narrative to get behind.
Well,
If that answers the question.
Another question, kind of a two-part question. This was actually in the proposal thread too from Sarah at Treasure Corp. But I'll boil it down. Is there any possibilities here of like open sourcing the science or a live research data dashboard, like the progress or mouse health, and also like how can we engage MoonDAO citizens or the MoonDAO community throughout this initial 3-month, funding proposal?
Okay, so with sorry, hang on one second. My apologies. So with regard to open sourcing the science, that is actually part of ASRI's model. The agreement that we have with KUMC, that we're still in negotiations with the university, but KUMC are technically the owners of the data, but that will be shared with ASRI so that we can use that. Sorry, I have another helicopter coming overhead.
Well, I can just talk a little bit.
Ironically, age 60, the very helicopter I used to fly. The long-term plan is, yes, to open source the data for all of humanity. And I'm not just speaking to this particular project, but all data that ASRI gathers in the future within a certain set number of years. Upon making our findings, we do plan to open source all of our data, so that this data is available to the entire species, and there is actually no in the long term, there is no government or institution or person, for profit that is in control of this data. It belongs to everyone, belongs to all of humanity. And that's kind of why and how we have structured ASRI the way that we have, it's on the nonprofit side, with the nonprofit owning all the IP and the data. So it's not something that I or anybody else involved in the project is going to personally own. It will always be owned by the nonprofit, which is governed by a board of directors. So the science is designed to always own itself for the benefit of the science and for the benefit of humanity. So in terms of the longer term outlook of how we plan to release the data, that is sort of the most comprehensive answer I think I can probably give right now there. With this specific project, that is going to be dependent on what lanes we're able to take with KUMC themselves, because again, they're another private institution that has sort of different protocols. But to the extent that we can, we're going to make sure that this data does go to benefit the public.
Yeah, everything that and just to relate that, everything that we discover will all, is mandated by our funding institution to be released and to be active, to be looked at by others, so they can access this data ultimately. And do new things with the data. I just wanted to point out that one of the things that, and I didn't really get to this in the last statement, but I wanted to tell you about what excites me most about this work, is that this is a chance to explore how experiences affect not just one generation, but many. And since humans don't really live long enough to track multiple generations in a multiple study, by doing this in mice, you can watch these effects unfold across multiple generations in a much shorter time frame. And it's sort of like, catching a family story or in a fast forward motion. This impacts ultimately, like, early age cancer survivors. It can have impacts on the aging community. And so I think I just wanted to bring those pieces into this as it relates to what's the benefit to science in general, and why this work is really important, not just from a space perspective, but to humanity in general.
Cool. Yeah, Alex, and did you address the ways we can engage the citizens or communities during this campaign?
Yeah, so far as the strategy for engaging the community, one of the reasons that we wanted to do this with the MoonDAO community is because of the established footprint that you guys have, and also sort of the more forward-thinking understanding that space is important, and everything that we learn in space ultimately benefits us a lot better here on Earth. So far as modes of engagement, we are absolutely open to any suggestions of how we can spread this message further. We do have a social media campaign plan, press campaign planned, which we think is going to significantly help, but that's going to be something that's pushed out to the entire public, sort of the broader public, who are, while they're fascinated by space, they just don't pay as much attention as, the folks in this community might. So I think this is kind of the hardcore cream of the crop, folks that are genuinely passionate about space, and make sure that they take the personal time to focus on all things space. So, yeah, definitely. We are still 2 months out from this campaign launching, but open to any and all suggestions that you guys might have.
Cool. I think you kind of already addressed some of Elliot's question, but another one here that he had within this three-parter was well, what are the plans for the long-term care of the genetically engineered mice? I guess if there's no funding, that just essentially have to be euthanized or eliminated, right? But I don't know if there's any other considerations there that they're not getting out into what the wider population, or I don't know, anything you might want to address there.
Well, I'll let Lane speak to this, but I think that we sort of we sit at a crossroads where do the mice get funded, and what happens if they don't, and do the mice get funded? We are able to meet our target amount, and how many generations deep should we be able to go with these newer generations, getting onto F3s and F4s, and what we can expect to see there. So if you want to speak to it, Lane, I'll see it over to you.
I think the key here is that we're at this crossroads where we have some really critical or some really informative information, and now with the prior generations, with the F1s, F2s, and now in the F3s, we are actually in the process of F3s in these studies with F3 mice right now. We have make it very quick description. The mice that originally went to space, they went to low Earth orbit. They were on the International Space Station. On the International Space Station, you do not experience those type of changes that you're going to experience when you go to the moon. And primarily, the big one is radiation. So in our F3 that have a space flight or microgravity phenotype, we have now exposed them to space radiation. We did this in a project where we exposed them to galactic cosmic radiation at the Brookhaven National Laboratories. And now we have those samples and animals to investigate, look at their the impact of that space radiation. So this actually, and we'd like to do this, we'd like to repeat this where we actually can use mitigation systems to block that the impact, or can we actually give factors that will reverse the aging type of events that we've now basically have in these mice. Those experiments can only be done if we maintain the lines. These lines are, to recreate, it would take another, another space flight, and that's not going to happen currently. There is possible plans in the future, another platform, but not on the ISS as we understand it. Therefore, just by having these mice and maintaining them and then doing further studies, we are able to gain insights that until the next set of the new platform rises, be it another international system or a commercial system. We just don't see this as these type of experiments can't be done. And the other aspect to note is there's a lot of push for what can be done with learning through cell culture systems and things of these natures. The body is so complex, and there's so much in mechanisms to compensate that the results we have, we did not predict would be the case. And the only reason we have this information is because we used a model system to the human. And we just could not predict all of the changes that we've seen. And therefore, and now that we have them and we have this model, we really want to be able to study it further, and because of the fact that it wasn't predicted, the actual interpretations that we now know what we should try to do to mitigate, but we don't know what those responses will be either. So the only way we're going to find that out is by maintaining this line and doing those subsequent experiments. While the request here is to maintain it for a short period of time while we get ready to raise the funds to actually do the long-term experiments.
Right. Cool. Well, we've been going for a little while here, guys. There are some, I guess there are some questions that you might want to address in the project proposal thread. And obviously any further questions can keep coming through during the voting period there. So I just encourage Elaine and Alex to be aware of anything coming in there and address those as they come through. But I just link the MDP 191 ASTRI rodent research project proposal vote here. Tag senators, if you guys can give your thumbs up, thumbs down for the temperature check, so we can be quorum here and get it up to a community vote. But yeah, you have anything you'd like to close on, either Lane or Alex?
Nothing additional right now from my end, but just really appreciate the community taking a look at this. We have the opportunity to make a really, really significant impact on biomedical science, but just space life sciences as a whole for the future. The world doesn't know it, but this is a very, very significant experiment when it comes to the long-term vision of being able to settle other worlds. So thank you again for your time today.
Yeah, thanks so much for time and I don't know. I don't see any threat. I don't see any other information. Is there something we're supposed to be able to see or address at this point?
Yeah, I linked to it in ground control, but I'll tag you there too. So perhaps after this call, you can
Okay.
tune
'cause I
in
don't.
and see.
I'm
Yeah, you'd have to
not
open
a
up the ground
Discord-
control chat.
I'm not a heavy
Yeah, yeah.
Discord user, so.
Okay, understood. But yeah, I'll try and tag you there, and hopefully you can see the notification.
Thank you.
Cool.
Appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you, Alex. Thank you, Lane, for coming in and sharing your proposal here.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks. Cool. Cool. So we will do some quick project roundtable updates here. So we're not keeping everybody too long. Hey, Bob. And your Bob. How's it going?
Hey, how's it going?
Good. How's it going?
So I guess the main update is the vote totals have been counted, and we have our top three finalists. Just to remind everybody, the only difference from the top three finalists and the remainder of the finalists is they get a bit of a higher reward. You can look at the proposal documentation to figure out what those are. I can't remember exact numbers off the top of my head. But yeah, so we have identified our top three candidates, and that information is available all over social media. So I encourage you guys to go check out that. The URL for the votes, in case you want to audit the vote totals and see what those were, is moondao.com/WBA. I don't know, Ryan, if you can drop that in the chat so everyone can see. Yeah, so the next step will be to definitely thank you, Ryan, for helping pull together all the media for the vote. Thanks to everybody who did vote, and thanks to Jade for managing the vote for us. So yeah, we're super excited. The next step will be to work with each of the candidates to get their money distributed over the next couple of weeks. Hopefully by the end of the quarter, so that I can close out this project. And thanks again to everybody who's been involved in the project. It's definitely been a long hurdle. So
Cool. Yeah. Thank you, Bob. Yeah, I shared the graphic here with the winners. It was Brooke in first place, Daniela in second place, and Shreya in third place. And obviously all the other finalists will get some compensation too for being among the top 10. But yeah, exciting to get them the funding, and exciting to see their analog missions unfold. Hopefully we can, keep getting updates throughout their analog missions, and bring them into the fold a little more.
I will say informally, this is not formally part of the project, but we did ask the candidates if they would be willing to document their journey, and some of them have actually reached out to me to start that process. So I think as part of the Here's Your Money process, we're going to work with them and get a group chat together so that they can all document it, and we may come back with another proposal to do a short video about the candidates and their experience, so that we can actually see the benefit of our financial support. So stay tuned for that one as well.
Cool. Yeah, I was at Habitat Marte, whatever, last week, and left a couple some stickers and patches, because I know we have 3 of the finalists that are going to be there. So hopefully they'll get their hands on that. But excited to see the world's biggest analog finally come to fruition here in another month.
Yep. I will make sure to make a post in the general chat on the first day of the mission. So just remind everybody that that's happening.
Sweet. Thanks, Bob. GP how's it going? Any updates on IAC? I can't hear Anna. Nothing on my end. I don't know if it's just me, but I can't hear you, Anna.
It's not just you. I can't hear her either.
Okay. Cool. Well, I don't know, Anna, if you can figure out what's going on with your mic. Maybe I need to refresh as well. But yeah, we don't have Anastasia here today. Oh, Okay, we got you now, Anna.
Testing,
How's it
testing.
going?
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, we finished. Me, NG Bob, Eliza, Marie, Phil finished getting our IC. It is still open for resubmission until the sharing probably tonight or tomorrow morning, so that we can get some feedback on the draft. That feedback as well, and then the oral presentation is due tomorrow. I will be sharing draft of.
You're kind of cutting in and out, so it's a little tough to hear you. But I guess there's some revisions going on with the doc potentially. But yeah, I guess while we have you, I need to follow up with you. We need to talk about the final reports and all that, just to make sure everything gets in on time, because I know the IAC will kind of hit right at the end of the quarter, so we can keep talking by direct messages, I guess, about that. And yeah, it'd be great to get some updates too while you're on the ground at IAC. Obviously, Chris mentioned being there, and I know we have Anastasia from the community there, and probably other members as well. So it'd be cool to see some MoonDAO stuff on the ground there at IAC. Cool. Yeah, bad connection, but yeah. Yeah, I guess I'll just give a brief update here on the Brazil trip. We just wrapped that up basically yesterday, I think. Anastasia did kind of come down with a cold, so that's probably why she's not there, and just had a long journey back to Colorado. But yeah, it was a really incredible trip. Great to see William here in the audience too. But we spent basically 10 days, 10 days traveling across the country, 4 different cities, visiting hospitals, and also like Ronald McDonald type houses where kids with cancer live, doing art with the kids. The astronauts, talked to them. We were there with Iman, obviously, and also with Russian cosmonaut Denise. They were all super stoked to be there with the astronauts. Everyone was really, happy to have space come into not just the hospital. We also visited universities and schools and planetarium, the Brazilian Space Agency. It was, it was like such a crazy journey. We're doing 12 hours a day. But we are talking about doing like a more in-depth presentation next week, just instead of a town hall guests, and sharing some photos and videos and whatnot from the trip. But yeah, shout out to William here in the audience. He was our savior, Brazilian savior on the ground there too, throughout the entire journey. And yeah, we had a great community event on the beach in Rio. Thanks, Elliot, for your help in organizing that. We had like 15 like local space folks come out and just hang out on the beach and listen to music and talk space and take pictures with the astronauts. Overall, it was really cool. We've already gotten some new citizens coming into the network from Brazil, and lots of follow-up that needs to be done after the trip here too, which I'll be getting to now. But yeah, stay tuned for more updates. If you haven't checked out Instagram though, I've been sharing like just a ton of stuff from like collaboration reels with the hospitals and the stories that were going on throughout the trip. But those have hopefully they've disappeared, I guess, at this point in time. But yeah, stay tuned for more. I guess Pablo, updates on the EB side.
Yeah, I'll try to be brief because we've been going almost for 2 hours. But also just amazing town hall, great proposals. It's great to have Chris here too. And yeah, there's just so much happening all at once, so it's hard to make these short. On the EV side, Quest will be live very soon. And we'll do an update. So essentially, these are going to be ways that you can explore the app and get rewarded for doing different things within the app. We're just getting the first cycle of weekly rewards going as well. So if you sign in as a citizen, you can check in to receive rewards. So yeah, lots of cool stuff happening. And yeah, we're almost at the end of the quarter, so yeah, we'll do a bit more of an in-depth presentation on some of these updates soon. So yeah, that's all I have.
Cool. Thank you, Pablo. Yeah, we're coming up here on 2 hours. So thank you everyone for staying with us throughout this sort of longer town hall. But yeah, stay tuned for the votes. We'll send an announcement soon about the proposal votes, and also be doing some follow-up here about the final reports. Make sure everybody's ready to go for our final reports. Yeah.
One more
week,
thing.
I think we'll do. Oh yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, I almost forgot. So we're going to be in Nashville this weekend for Iman's documentary premiere. And for anyone in Nashville or in the area that wants to meet up before the premiere, we're going to be doing a happy hour on Friday, I believe at 8 p.m. There's a link that we'll share, like a Particle type invite, or Luma, I think, actually. So yeah, anyone in the area that wants to join, please do. And yeah, excited to do the documentary premiere.
Yeah, it's exciting. 2 events in Nashville. Love to see these in-person events. And if anyone here has any ideas for in-person events where they live, like, yeah, let's make it happen. Informally, formally, whatever. Be cool to see more on-the-ground connections being made. It was, yeah, a blast. Every time we get together, MoonDAO in person is great. But yeah, let's see more of that happening. So I just shared the link to the Luma calendar in Discord here too. Cool. Thank you, everybody. See you next week.
Thanks, everyone.
Peace.
All right.
Welcome to MoonDAO, a revolutionary governance model and mission-oriented community that's reshaping collaboration in the space industry. Our mission is to create a self-sustaining, self-governing settlement on the moon to act as a launch point into the cosmos. MoonDAO is governed like a nation, with its own economy, constitution, voting system, treasury, elections, and senate, but internet native, and so without the limitations of geography. In 2022, we sent our first member to space, showcasing our model's capacity for real-world impact. Now, we're implementing key solutions for global collaboration in the space industry. We offer a borderless, permissionless platform that enables everyday people to participate in the future of space development and exploration. Be part of our lunar legacy and join the MoonDAO movement today.